Minister Jess Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm going to start my comments by first saying that thank you to the Minister for Equalities for securing this debate in government time. I think in the time that I've been in the House, this is only the second time that has ever happened. I'm incredibly proud to stand alongside her. I also want to say thank you to the opposition spokeswoman for the tone that was set throughout this debate, and to everybody else who has followed that tone. I have to say that I have felt tearful at lots of points. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's almost certainly something that the member for Hampstead and Highgate's mother would not be pleased for me to say. It is either both hope or anger, or just that I have my period, that makes me feel both tired and hopeful and angry in equal measure to the member from Aberdeen. If I get through this without crying, it will be a miracle. I just really want to say a massive thank you. Also, as others have done, I had assumed, actually, because sometimes I don't pay much attention, that this debate had actually been called by the member for Brent East, who does that service so well every year through the Backbench Business Committee, but it in fact was the government's doing, and I thank her for her comments and agree that she would be, and I hope that she is a challenge to whoever she stands opposite. And of course to the member for Gorton and Denton, who made her maiden speech. When I made my maiden speech, I commented on what a sexist thing it was for it to be called a maiden speech, and that I wasn't a maiden because my children were in the gallery. So true to form, talking about my period and my lack of virginity, I shall continue. It was an absolute pleasure to listen to her. I shall put aside my Birmingham versus Manchester rivalry and say that she is very welcome here, and across this house. As I'm definitely not going to repeat what I said to her when I first introduced myself to her, but it was a long. You can paraphrase it without it being sweary. That there are lots of lovely people here, regardless of which political parties people come from, and that when we work together, we are always strongest. I wish that I could go through everybody's statements, but I do just want to highlight the member for Penistone and Stocksbridge, a woman who I work very, very closely with, and gave me campaigns that we had worked on together, gave me cause to cry earlier in the week. The only thing that I would say is that she ruined Bridgerton for me, because I've only seen the first episode, and so for that I am irritated. However, she always speaks with such passion, and who doesn't deserve love? I mean, that is it. She rang out from the chamber. I would like to pay tribute to the towering figures of the past that everybody has mentioned, who have advanced the causes of women's rights, but we have also all paid tribute to the women who, without fanfare and acclaim, support families and contribute to their communities every single day. I personally could not cope without the women in my life propping me up and making me laugh and just noticing the stuff that needs noticing, and then people not noticing that how important that little act of love actually is. And so we have spoken of progress and of celebration, but we know that we have far to come. To the women of specifically, and there are many countries in the world I could highlight, but many members have highlighted the women of Afghanistan and Iranian women have featured very heavily in this debate. I am the sister-in-law of a beautiful and now departed Iranian woman who died of breast cancer, but made her home in our country because her country was not safe for her. The bravery of the women who stand up to be counted in Afghanistan and Iran currently should move every single one of us. When we don't want to come here on a Monday morning, imagine the privilege to be able to stand and speak out in this place. But now the reason I the reason I stood to be elected to Parliament in the first place is that while we are gathered here in the heart of our democracy to discuss these issues in comfort and in safety, beyond these walls in every part of our country, women and girls are suffering. They are being attacked, abused, harassed and stalked. At home, in public places and online, the scale of violence against women and girls shames our society. And today's debate is not a moment for detailed policy talk, so I won't do that, but I will say that I am proud to be part of a government that is tackling this as if it is the national emergency that it is. And has been underscored by many people who have spoken about our commitment to halve violence against women and girls in a decade. But we know that words are not enough. Plenty has been promised and pledged in the past without results. And that is why our Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, published in December, had to be different. It has to deploy the full power of the state to deliver the change that is desperately needed. And I wanted to take this up, and actually it is just a piece of paper, it is just a document, and I have always said that when it needs to be stretched and ambition needs to be stretched, then that is absolutely what it should be. And so I, with some pleasure for the brilliant women and campaigners, and credit to the Domestic Abuse Commissioner who have campaigned for what I am about to say, which was not in the Violence Against Women and Girls strategy. And before I take on the grim task of reading out the names of all the women who have been killed in the last year, I want to take this opportunity to commit the Home Office to funding and delivering the oversight mechanism for recommendations made in domestic homicide reviews. We will put in place a system that strengthens accountability and ensures learning is consistently embedded across both local and national agencies. This is about turning lessons into action, not just letting those documents sit on a shelf in some local authority. And by doing so, we will drive meaningful change that is so desperately needed, because those women's names aren't even, like, they used to just be numbers, now they are names. They have to make a change to enable us to prevent any future horrific deaths. It has been a long and arduous struggle, but I do believe that with drive and leadership, change will come. Tragically, though, it will be too late for the victims whose lives have been ended by this scourge, I can never say that, scourge, and their shattered families. And that brings me on to the task at hand. I will now read the names collated arduously every year for over a decade by the Femicide Census of the women who have allegedly been killed by men in the past year. They are Angela Chetty, Joanne Penny, Michelle Egg-Bailey, Meletta Rosavere, Carmenza Valencia Trujillo, Rachel Dixon, Claire Anderson, Parmajit Kaur, Claire Burns, Sarah Reynolds, Hein T. Vu, Rebecca Campbell, Pariah Vasey, Tracy Davies, Pamela Munro, Amy Pike, Elizabeth Tamalor Adunzi, Nanena Chima, Catherine Perkins, Margaret McGowan, Ellen Cook, Rachel Vaughan, Marjama Osman, Yajaria Castro Mendez, Miriam MacDonald, Mary Green, Mandy Riley, Samantha Murphy, Isabella Knight, Christina Alexander, Annabelle Rook, Rianne Coulson, Nilani Nimalaraja, Irene Mabuga, Neela Patel, Sarah Montgomery, Angela Botham, Fortune Gomo, Phyllis Daly, Gwyneth Carter, Stephanie Blundell, Brenda Breed, Vanessa White and her children James and Sarah, Courtney Angus, Nikiru Chima, Kimberly Thompson, Shara Miller, Paris Kendall, Sophia Caton, Zawa Salah Mukhtar, Nuwahulaj Dona, Naroda Kalapni Nuwahula, Cheryl Wilkins, Helena Hoysan, Tia Langdon, Nadata Bob, Lina Sang, June Bunyan, Michelle Thompson, Anne Green, Shelley Davis, Anjani Sindir, Catalina Burley, Cherise Bailey, Sonia Axelby, Agnes Druskines, Michelle Kennedy, Angela Sheelis, Stephanie Irons, Dicasey Nurse, Natalie Egan, Colleen Westerman, Katie Fox, Lainey Williams, Lily Storanova, Z Quing Kay, Julie Wilson, Maria Sakenu, Lisa Smith, Janet Bowen, Samantha Lee, Lisa Marie Hopkins, Gilly Livey, Tanya Williams, Gloria de Lazare, Victoria Hart, Lisa Denton, Vanessa Poulton Chanda, Helen Rundle, Anam Rafay, Rita Rowley, Amal Raitan, Carla Maria Georgescu, Helen Bird, Angela Clayton, Naomi MacGyver, Caroline Barraclough, Jennifer Simmons, Ellie Flanagan, two women in their 40s whose names have not yet been confirmed. And the final name on this year's list was a name, and this always happens every single year, is there is always a name that has to be written on because it comes in as I'm walking in to give you an idea of the regularity of this happening, and that is Carly Soane. The following women whose names have not been read out in previous years are Lat Parks, Delia McInerney, Lucy Harrison, Leila Zarju Negana, Judith Law, Jane Riddle, Dawn Kerr, Victoria Adams, Simone Smith, and Brigitte Razuli. I am grateful to the women of the Femicide Census for making sure that the previously incomplete lists, because the information was not known, that those women can be remembered. I also want to take a moment to remember those who have died by suicide or in unexplained circumstances as a result of their abuses. We commit to do more so that their names are also not forgotten and they outstrip the women on this list by some margin. We refuse to forget these women who all deserved so much more. I want to once again thank the Femicide Census for the tireless work that goes into collating these names every year. We find it difficult to listen to them, and they look through every single story. I express my profound gratitude for their work and the work that they do to raise awareness of women and girls who have been so tragically killed by men. There is so much more that I could say in conclusion, but the list continues to speak for itself. I will finish by saying only this: may these women get the justice that they deserved, and may we honour them by preventing others from suffering the same fate. Thank you.
The question is that this House has considered International Women's Day. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn, and I'll give the front benches a few moments.